All right, so I'm wearing the same shirt because I'm shooting multiple videos. So if you see another video with the same shirt and like the same lighting, well, newsflash, it literally is being shot at the same time. However, in this particular scenario, we are going to be doing something way different. So right here, we have a classic Corvette Lego set. This is an absolutely amazing Lego set. My late Uncle Michael, who passed away a little over a year ago, this is basically the last car that he had. Ironically, it's the same color and everything. I think I have some pictures, and if I do, I'm going to post them up for you guys to show you how close of an identical car was. I think he had a 65, and I want to say this is, it's a 60, I know it's not a 65, but it's close enough. But I'm going to build this. I'm going to show you guys the whole process of building it, and this one's dedicated to my Uncle Mike. He was not only my uncle, but he was also my friend, and my number... This one's for you, Uncle Mike. All right, guys, so we're in my my den. Riley is, wherever I go, this dog is with me. So we're going to build this, and we're going to do bits and pieces here and there. I'm not going to do it all in one sitting. I'm certainly not going to bore you guys the whole time. So let's get into this build for my Uncle Mike. So my Uncle Mike, like I was saying, was one hell of a guy. He was always a lot bigger in my eyes. And I have, my dad is one of 7, right? George, Bobby, Ricky, Michael, Joanne, Sibby, Joy. Oh, my dad's one of 7. Lou, my dad's one of 8. That's right, Doy. So anyway, my Uncle Michael was super, super, super important to me. I'm going to tell you guys why. He was different, right? Because what made him so different was he just always wanted more. And as a kid growing up, I always knew him to have a big house, cool car, a house out in Montauk. Like, my Uncle Mike had it all. I never knew what he did. As I got older, you get more inquisitive and you want to learn some things about your family. And I found out my Uncle Mike was a big time electrician out in the city. And he did everything. He did all the cathedrals. He did the World Trade Centers, the Empire State Building. I mean, the man literally touched every part of New York City. And he was a huge part of a lot of the infrastructure for the electricity. He worked so hard, my uncle, and he really did. He built a powerful, powerful business. And it was just so impressive to know that I had an uncle who was just badass like that, you know? You have somebody in your family who's just ultra successful, just kicking butt and making a killer business for himself to provide for his family. My Uncle Mike just liked toys, man. He just liked toys, whether it was a plane or a car or whatever it was. He always had something cool. And back then, like, the Prowler was like such a crazy car. It had like just 2 random wheels with like axles just poking out of it. If you don't know what a Prowler is, look it up. Actually, I'll put one right here so you can see what a Prowler was. He had that car. He was just so badass like that. I just remember how cool he was. And I was like, dang, like, I always wanted to be like that guy, like my uncle was. I know a lot better now, you know? I know a lot better now in the sense that, yeah, it's cool to have all these things, but it's also cool to work and earn them and what have you. And, you know, you kind of learn a little bit of the concept of the dollar and, you know, it's just ways of life. You know what I mean? It's just literally the way of life. Got a little bit of a chassis going, looking pretty cool. But yeah, so anyway, back to my Uncle Mike. He was one of those guys, man, that didn't matter who you are, what you are. It didn't matter anything about it didn't matter about your color, your religion, your beliefs, your background. He didn't give a shit about that. He was just one of those guys that was just like accepted people for who they are. But maybe that's what made him great. Maybe that's what made him a great guy. I don't know how I'm going to make it through this thing without crying. I'll tell you what, this is probably like one of the easiest Lego sets I've ever built. Years go by and I want to be a businessman. And I was very fortunate to have a guy like my dad who was so into that. My dad was so into that. He was always talking about, you know, me starting up my own business, and he guided me along the way to start one where I started my first company. Actually, my first company was a failure. It was a paintball company. regardless of that mishap, I always had a great father system to help me grow a business. And I'll tell you what, the second biggest fan I had was my uncle. My Uncle Mike, he would talk to me all the time about what I was doing. And at the time, I was doing Energy Star. So I was one of the original guys spraying foam in houses to make them Energy Star certified on Long Island. And one of my biggest fans, hands down, was my Uncle Mike. He was so into it. He was always so happy to see me kicking butt. Again, being an outsider looking in, he was just a really big supporter for it. And I can remember so many times where he would call me and ask me questions about my experience, in Energy Star. And, he would ask me a lot of questions about the houses and like what you have to do it. And although I was still new to it and I was still learning, I still had a lot of the answers. And he always told me, not gonna do it yet. Not gonna blow up into tears just yet, but I'm getting there. He would always tell me how proud he was of me. So I thought I wasn't going to try to do this in one night. You can see me starting to sweat because it is getting late. It's almost 10 o'clock at night. But I'm really kicking butt in this thing. And I guess, looking at this, kind of what's weird to this is, Corvette's just a car that stands the test of time, right? Like this build, it's solid, it's strong, it's built Chevy tough. But this is a very, very, very incredible car to begin with. And if you saw it in person, you'd know exactly what I was saying. And I want to say that my uncle probably inspired me to love the Corvette. And probably 5 or 6 years ago was probably, when that all changed. But, you think of something that's so strong and tough and such an incredible build and everything like that. And it reflects my Uncle Mike in such a major way because my Uncle Mike, he went through the ringer on stuff. This guy was built tough, just like the Chevy Corvette was. He was just one of those guys that just went against the grain, built himself up from nothing, took the bull by the horns. He built a business. He built a career. He built a life for his family. He built the dreams that he always wanted. And yeah, you know what? Maybe he was a little more to himself than the average, family man. But he did it. And you can always remember one thing about Uncle Mike is that whenever you needed him, just like a Corvette, he was one of the most reliable people that you could ever find in your life. And that was what was so awesome about him. Reliability in your engine, reliability in your build, reliability in the man that he was. That will always be ingrained in my head, no matter what way I look at it. My Uncle Mike was always reliable. Day 2 of this car, we've got a frame done. We got the motor in, looking pretty sharp. Doing some of the bottom of the car. It was the trunk opens up, all that. It's funny, like going back and like actually holding this car. So a few years ago, before Uncle Mike passed away, he had purchased this car. When he opened the garage and he showed me this, it was like he brought home like one of his kids from the hospital. Like just this joy of, oh, this is my baby. And I kind of felt that way. I remember when he showed me the Prowler for the first time, it was the same amount of excitement. So that was really cool to see because that garage door opened. He's like, you got to see this. And when that door opened, he goes, and I was in awe. I'm a huge Chevy guy. I love Chevy. I love everything about it. But like I was saying earlier, this is what got me into Corvettes. My Uncle Mike, he loved this car. I know he loved it because I'm telling you, I saw the face I saw in his face when he showed me the car. I'd never seen him so excited before to see a Corvette. And I remember when he started it and how he was just, everything about the car just impressed him so freaking much. He was just so elated by it. Building this one now, I'm kind of like, man, I kind of want to get a old school Corvette just like my uncle did. But I got to say, it is a very, very, very impressive vehicle. So what did I end up doing this past June 2020? Dude, what's up? This is Riley. For those of you guys who don't hear me doing videos of me yelling at a dog, this is my little boy right here, right? And my little pain in the butt. Ooh, I'm mushing his face up. Riley is a lover. So this past June, I actually bought myself my very own Corvette. And, I want to say that my uncle was a little bit of the reason why I did it. I think he impressed me so much when he got this vet, and I was so taken back how beautiful that was. I figured, well, I could be my uncle too. If he's going to be this badass dude, why can't I? So, thank you, Uncle Mike. You're the reason why I now own a Corvette. I think something that got me a little bit emotional last night when we were talking about all this about my Uncle Mike was when I went on my own in business. I'm a third generation builder, and my dad taught me everything that he could teach me, but I wanted to go on my own. I wanted to find myself. I wanted to do my own thing. When that time came for me to go on my own, the first person to jump out of their way for me to help me to succeed my goal was my Uncle Mike. And I could jump around. I don't think I would be as successful as I am without the knowledge of my family and the kickstart that my uncle helped me get. Literally, my dad taught me so much about the industry, but most importantly, my uncle is the first person to believe in me and my family, and outside of my parents. It's cool when you have like other people in your family besides your immediate family that are just always got your back, and they're always looking out for you, and they're always rooting for you. And that's what my Uncle Mike did. My Uncle Mike always rooted for me, no matter what it was. And he wasn't, again, it wasn't like my Uncle Mike was always around. He wasn't there every single day. I didn't talk to him all the time, but whenever he got a chance to go on Facebook or on Instagram or even a text message, he would just text me to tell me, I'm so proud of you, and I'm so excited to see what you have next. And that just hits different. It always hit different for me. Look, I could sit here and tell you that I was his favorite nephew, which I was, but I don't want to offend the rest of my family because they know better. They know I was his favorite. But I'll tell you what, it was so cool to have an uncle who was also your friend. He was just always rooting for me, and I can't be more thankful for him than that. The bottom line is, guys, right? We're almost done. The bottom line is, the point of this entire video is to kind of reflect about something. And this is what this is the point of the video. Whew, if I can get through it. The more important thing for all of us to remember is that there are people in your life who will not be there tomorrow. Doesn't matter if it's your mom, your dad, your uncle, your dog, your cat, your best friend, your best friend's parents. Doesn't matter if it's a girlfriend, the doorman at your hotel, your limo driver. Don't matter. Everybody, there are people that will come into your life and they will impact you in different ways. And that is the brass tacks of it. At the end of the day, you are going to be impacted in some way, shape, or form by certain people in your life. And the most important part is that the positive ones, you cherish those forever. I sadly did not get to see my Uncle Mike So I didn't get to see my Uncle Mike before he passed away. What a shame, because I would have loved to say goodbye to him. But the last time I did get to see him, he did say to me, Dave, I love you so much, man. I'm so proud of you. And I will remember that for the rest of my life. And this car, I will remember for the rest of my life. I loved breaking his chops, and I will love him forever. All right, so I'm gonna lean down so you guys can kind of get the full effect of how awesome this piece is. So this is the Corvette Lego model. So you guys can see how awesome this thing is. It really is a really, really, really cool piece. And I kind of didn't know that Lego had these awesome of Legos, but they really are sharp. So luckily for me, I got most of the tears dried up, but we are complete with this Lego build, this Corvette. Legos are so awesome because, you know, they have these just these little nuances about them, and they make them so, I want to say this is actually pretty easy because I probably built in like a 2-hour time, but this is a really cool Lego, and it definitely means a lot to me because it reminds me so much of my Uncle Mike and obviously his favorite car. So I am just so elated that I'm able to own it and make it part of my collection and give him a special place in my home where I'll never forget him because he was such an awesome guy, always by my side. And, you know, when I see him one day, I'm going to ask why he didn't leave me the car, and I'll deal with him, you know, specifically then at that time. But I will make sure to leave him in his honor, a place for him to always have a ride in my home. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this build and this unboxing. My eyes are puffy. I'm a mess over this, but I wanted to do it for him because he was so good to me and he always had my back, and I am so ecstatic to own this piece and leave it in my house and make sure that he has a place so I can always tell the stories about my good old Uncle Mike. Anyway, guys, we'll see you on your next one. This is your boy, Dia Castell, and remember, always cherish the ones you love.